Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The Professional Service Group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you. Anybody that is in any kind of career transition, we are here to provide resources and information to help you make your job search more efficient and effective. And in addition to good morning, happy Aloha Friday. So if you're wondering why I'm wearing an Aloha shirt today, if you're meeting me for the first time, every Friday I wear an Aloha shirt. It is Aloha Friday. And I see someone here is wearing a nice floral shirt as well. So thank you very much. We're probably psychically connected, who knows? And so we celebrate Aloha Friday. And also today is National Dress in Blue Day, which is why I'm wearing my blue shirt, my blue Hawaiian shirt. Actually, I have a lot of Hawaiian or Aloha shirts at home. I have two that are blue, so I wore one of my blue ones. And what National Dress in Blue Day, it actually raises awareness of colon cancer and screening. So hopefully those of you of a certain age are taking care of yourself in that way as well. So happy to raise awareness, but it's just fun wearing a Aloha shirt. PSG of Mercer County is here to provide you the resources you need to be more efficient and effective in your own job search. We do have a lot of resources that are available to you. For instance, we do have our LinkedIn group. If you are not yet a member of your LinkedIn group, I encourage you to search for it in LinkedIn. It is called PSG of Mercer County. And it's not really a private group per se. It's not hidden at all, but we do screen people that join. So when you find our group and click the join button, you'll be put in pending status. And then we will check your request or your name against our attendance rolls, whether you're visiting us here in person or virtually. We only accept people into our LinkedIn group that have been to at least one of our in-person groups. What we're trying to do is kind of keep the name collectors, the list collectors out. People are just trying to collect names because they're going to try and promote whatever they're offering only to us. Our group has over 1,700 members. I think we're 1,725 right now. They're all people that have been to at least one of these meetings, which means that as you do your job search and as you reach out to people in our LinkedIn group, if it's helpful to you on LinkedIn, there's a good chance they're willing to communicate with you and help you because they kind of get the whole process of job search. There are a lot of times you've probably reached out to people you don't know on LinkedIn. They hadn't responded, but with our group, there's a good chance that they will respond because they kind of get it. They understand the importance of job search. When you're join our group, they have these discussion sections. All groups have that. In ours, you may want to introduce yourself or maybe post some information. Maybe you got a terrific email of a wonderful job from a recruiter you don't know about a position that doesn't suit you. But it's wonderful. You might copy it out of your email, paste it into the group, share it with others. Be active on LinkedIn, and that's a way of doing so as well with our group. We do also have our website. It is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just a landing page. It is over 120 web pages of content. There's a lot of information in our website. We've been building it up over the years that we've been established as a group. For instance, we do have a page. It's a link on top, open jobs. So you'll take a look at that. When you click on that, you will have access to 2,600 company career pages. And these are companies that are either in Mercer County or the 6 border counties. That's kind of our main service area. You don't have to be from our service area to be a member of our group, but that's what we focused. So as you navigate through there, you will see links to over 2,600 company career pages. So those companies are maintaining the pages on their own, and hopefully those positions are fairly current and accurate. So go take a look, see if that will be helpful to you. If anything, even if the positions and jobs aren't quite right for you, you may use that page or set of pages to create a targeted company list. You may have your aha moment of going, gee, I didn't realize so many of these companies were so close, if it's something that's important for you to be a little closer. So as you create a targeted company list, you may want to use our career pages to find that as well. So in just a moment, I'm going to introduce Janice, and she will be up here. And just go over the ground rules. For those of you that are here that will have a question for Janice, the one thing we will ask, if you don't mind, please come up to the microphone on the left there, and speak your question into the microphone. It serves two purposes. One is it's your alibi. If ever you get called in by the cops or anything, at least, yep, she was here. But really what it's for is we want to make sure that the people virtually will hear you as well. It's all tied in together. And one thing, when you use the microphone, don't be afraid of it. Be like a rock star or a pop star. Keep it right up to your mouth. It's not a real, very sensitive one until you talk right into it, which is good. It doesn't capture a lot of background noise. So talk right up to it. And that way the people online can hear you. If you happen to, during the question, feel someone pushing you towards the microphone, that is likely me encouraging you to get a little bit closer. And that's all it is. For those of you who are virtual, you have a couple of options. We're not a very big group today, so if you do keep your microphone off, but unmute to ask your question, that'll be fine. Just say, oh, excuse me, Janice, I have a question, something to that effect. I'm sure that will be fine. Or you can post your question in chat, and Alan or I will read it on your behalf. So that could be helpful as well. So if you prefer not to interrupt Janice at that point. If you are going to write a question in chat, the one thing we will ask, type the word question and then type your question. Because a lot of people do put their introductions and other information because it's a little harder for us to cull through the chat and without seeing that it is a question. Those of you here don't have to say, I have a question. If you're talking to us, you clearly have a question. So that'll be fine. Okay, so with that, we are ready to move forward. So PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome back Janice Coleman. Janice is a powerhouse speaker, author, and career empowerment expert who has dedicated over 20 years of her life to helping individuals and organizations achieve their full potential by cultivating hearts for meaningful work. With her background in IT, career management, education, training, and organizational leadership, Janice is well equipped to deliver action-provoking presentations that have proven to change lives. Her experience includes helping thousands to land rewarding jobs, leading nonprofit organizations of over 4,500 people, training high potentials for greater effectiveness, and more. Her clients include Ocean County College, Philadelphia Gas Works, Alice Paul Foundation, and Exhale Women's Fellowship, to name just a few. She has a long-term affiliations as a board members for several nonprofits, including the FBI Citizens Academy and Toastmasters International as a district leader. PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome the always compassionate and dynamic Janice Coleman. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you, David. Happy Friday. Oh, you all don't sound like you're happy that it's Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Every day is a good day. When you get to put your feet on the floor relatively at the same time, it is a good day. And so I'm happy to be here. Friday is always one of those days that people tout as, you know, a landmark, like I made it. But you know, if we live every hour of the 168 hours that we get in every week, Friday would just be another day that we get to say, I'm in the game. So look at your neighbor. If you have a neighbor, and if they don't have a smile on their face, give them one of yours and tell them you're in the game.
You're in the game.
Oh, you're going to work with he here today, right? And for those who are watching us virtually, welcome as well. Today we're going to be talking about from job search to dream career. 5 tips to uncovering your purpose and passion to find and sustain fulfillment at work. As I was speaking to Anthony before we got started here, I said, you know, we spend so much time getting ready for work, going to work, being at work, coming home from work, and what? Thinking about work. Work needs to be fun. I just, 23 years ago, I decided work had to be fun. And I transitioned from a very interesting, fast-paced, demanding IT job into what I do now, which is career and education and training. And I have not looked back. Now, I'm still a little bit techie. Every once in a while, I'll do something technical, and my kids go, "What? Mom? Let's wait for Dad. When he gets home, we'll show, Dad will do it." I'm like, "Oh, no, let me do this." And I'll go and I'll do it, and they look at me a little strange. Oh, yeah, well, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. However, in the end, it's all about who I have become because of those tricks. And so we're going to talk about how do you take your life and look at it in such a way as to make sure that it serves you. Because life has to serve you instead of you serving it. How many people are ready for life to serve them versus you serving it? Like, instead of saying, I have to go to work, you want to say, I get to go to work. So, life and work should be fun because we're on the planet with gifts inside of us. Everybody, every single person has something inside of them that the world needs. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here because everything is made with a purpose, correct? You don't make a chair and then decide, what is this chair for? You decide, I no longer want to sit on the ground. What can I make that's going to keep me elevated so that I don't fall on the ground and so that I can keep my clothes clean? And therefore, you make a chair. And it serves a purpose. And that's the same thing with us. So we're going to talk about a few things with regard to fulfillment at work and how to do the things we have listed right here. And the word KGI is actually spelled correctly. I love that. Then we're going to talk about planning for a life or a career. The KGI model, some of you may have heard that, but we're going to talk about that in particular. The 5 tips that I want to share with you that will help empower you to this next level in your career. And an overview of the job search toolkit. Even though this is not that presentation, David, I could not leave the toolkit out. I just could not leave the toolkit out. The career coach in me could not leave the toolkit out. But it's just a segment of what we're going to talk about because we have a presentation that we have done, how to go hard in the paint for your job search, but that's not today. So that's why Dave is going to be able to push people and he won't get a foul because we can't go hard in the paint because that's the other presentation. And then I'm going to open it for Q&A. Now, if you have questions beforehand and I can field those in the midst, I will do that. But at the end, it is going to be ask the question, whatever the question may be, if it's about the presentation or if it's about something else with regard to your career search, or your career development life. Because that's why I'm here, to serve you today, to help you to get from where you are to where it is you need to be. And so that's going to be what we're going to do. If you do what you love, Confucius say, if you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. How many people are ready to never work another day in their life? All right, I'm in the right place. I feel like the work that I do, the work that I get to do is so amazing that I get to talk to people and help people and watch people grow. I work with people from the classroom to the boardroom. I've helped 7-year-old Girl Scouts. I have worked with CEOs. I've worked with people who are incarcerated, getting ready to transition out. I've worked with people transitioning into their first job, their mid-career job, and what might have been or what was proposed to be their last job. So I have helped people from every walk of life. And it is an amazing thing that I get to do this. I actually love what it is that I do. I used to say I could get arrested for loving it, but I stopped saying that because, some people would probably try to arrest you because people are so, litigious around here. So I just decided not to say that anymore. But let's talk about what is the world of work. So in a career, how many people have longevity in any particular type of career that are here? Okay. What is your career, sir? You still have your hand up.
Training manager.
A training manager?
Yeah.
And
specifically in the last 10 years, I've been in the pharmaceutical space and compliance.
Okay. So pharmaceuticals. Tracy?
Yeah.
I saw you raise your hand.
Sourcing and procurement.
Sourcing and procurement.
I said within the semiconductor space.
Oh, okay. And semiconductor. I have a client I need you to talk to. Yes.
IT business partner.
IT business partner, okay? So Anthony, you need to talk to this gentleman right here. Anthony's interested in IT. I told him I was in IT, and right after therapy, I went into career management. So, hi, I'm Janice. I'm in IT, right? You know what I mean, right?
Oh,
Absolutely. But you know, everybody is suited for what you have to be well suited for whatever job it is that you have. And when the time comes to change, we have to be smart enough to say the time to change is now. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with transitions. Transitions happen. Eric Hoffer said, in times of change, the learning will inherit the earth, while the learned are beautifully prepared for a world that no longer exists. So we always have to be ready when the gap comes. Ask Blockbuster. When was the last time you saw a Blockbuster open? Somewhere over in Iowa, like a history, right? Because they weren't ready for the change. They weren't ready for the transition. And so we always have to be ready and make no apologies when it's time to change. When it's time to change, you've got to know it, and everybody, the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter won't mind. So we have to do what is right for us in our career. So a career is an intentional path of related work leading into what we call a body of work for a period, for a time period, or even for a lifetime. Sometimes people may be in a particular role or particular type of role for a lifetime. And then there are other people who will be in that particular role for a period of time. And either is okay. Either is okay. Now let's talk about the KEI model. And this KEI model is Japanese, and I have obviously a problem with this word. It is Japanese, and it means it's a concept for reason for being, or reason of living. It is the culmination of 4 things, and the Japanese focus on pursuing this. So I no longer call it a noun, I call it a verb. I call it a verb because it's the pursuit of being deep into what it is that really makes you sing. Where is your sweet spot? So we're going to talk about that, and I want to get some feedback from you in the audience, and those who are virtual. Please put some feedback in the chat, and if Dave can keep up with you, that'll be nice. He'll keep up with you. He gave me a thumbs up. He'll keep up with you. But discovering where your KEI is an amazing feeling, and that's why I say I get to serve the people that I work with, because I have found my KEI. I have found my KEI. 4 things that make up the KEI. That which you are good at doing, that which you love to do, that which the world needs, and that for which you can get paid. That's the sweet spot. So let's just move into talking about this. And if you want a copy of this model along with a short questionnaire, I actually have one that you can opt in and get it if you use this code, or you can use the link that's up there, the bit.ly link. You can use either one of these, and I'll give you a moment to copy that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's just a little worksheet along with the KEI model that can help you to start to think. This presentation here is about helping you to think about what it is that's in your heart to actually do, and to give you some courage to go ahead and do it. So now, think about, what are you good at doing? Some of the things, and I know some of us are what they call polymaths, right? You're good at a lot of things. You have a lot of interests, and you're good at a lot of things. So what are the things that you are good at doing? And you can write those down. What are the things, and this is something that you're going to have to think about. What am I good at doing? And then once you think about what are you good, anybody want to share, what are you good at doing?
Talking.
Talking. There you go. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of us get paid by the word. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with talking. Anything else?
Actually speaking different languages.
Speaking different languages. So see how she's getting more, more granular with it? Not just talking, but speaking different languages, which is amazing. I'm using Duolingo right now, learning Spanish a little bit better than I did when I was in college. I had Spanish 4. I had a Spanish teacher who was from the Bronx. So go figure what my accent turned out like, right, in Spanish. But all of us got an A. If we could sound better than him, all of us got an A. So speaking different languages. Anybody else want to share? What are you good at?
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots. Awesome. Connecting the people and connecting the dots, right? Yes. Connecting the dots, which oftentimes they are very strained. And so we need people who can connect the dots. Yes.
Challenging the status quo, process improvement.
Okay. Process improvement. So you like in Lean Sigma or
Well, it's really partnership, understanding your business needs.
okay.
And, submitting, potential solutions to resolve the issues.
Okay, so pushing the envelope, forcing or interrogating the now in order to see how it can be better. And that's important. Anybody else want to share? What are you good at? Yes.
I guess generally connecting with people and communicating complex information such as pharmaceutical go and no-go recommendations to chief executives or investment portfolios to clients.
Okay, so, and that's an important thing, to be able to do that in a space where there could be a lot of confusion. Somebody has to be able to quiet the noise and say, here it is.
And they have to trust you.
And they have to trust you. So you're building trust, you're building rapport, and you're engaging people, and you're helping people to move toward that product or that service or that end result that ultimately is for their good, right? Exactly. And that's what I was telling Anthony when I was in IT. I was good at what I did from a technical standpoint. I was in the application space. And so, I made data make sense. And when it didn't make sense, I just asked you how you want it to look, and then I made it look like that, right? And we could do that on the application side. And so I was good at that, but then I was also good at communicating. And so when you can be technical and you can communicate, you can bridge the gap. Because a lot of IT, especially back then, it sounded something like this. And that's what the business partners heard. But it wasn't what they needed to hear. They needed to hear it translated into their language so that we could come to an agreement and move forward. So I'm just pushing buttons. You all didn't even tell me. What are you good at doing? So figure that out. And it's not just one thing, but all of what you're good at doing. And then out of those things that you're good at doing, what do you really love to do? See, this is where we get to the point of finding meaningful work. Really finding meaningful work. What is it that I'm good at? See, there are some things I might be good at doing. I'm loving you, Bill. I'm loving you. Bill is telling me, Janice, you're moving too fast. I'm going to put this down. So finding meaningful work is thinking, okay, I'm good at this. I'm good at this, but I really just like to do these right here. This segment of what I'm good at doing. It's on its own. It's on its own. There's so much power going on in this room. It's just doing what it does. So we're just not going to push the envelope on that one. We're not going to push the envelope. So finding now what it is I love to do, not just like to do. See, when I was in IT, I was good at that. I was very good at communicating, a whole lot of different skills that I have. And then I decided, okay, now it's time to transition. An opportunity for transition came my way. And so then I had to decide, of all of what I'm good at doing, what do I really like to do? What do I love to do out of that? And then it gave me more clarity toward my next step. Now, out of what I like to do, the question becomes, what does the world need? What does the world need? How can I posture what I'm good at doing in a way that the world, who would be the people who are going to pay me, in a way that they would understand how much they need what it is I have to offer? Does that make sense to anybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when we're talking about meaningful work, it has to be meaningful to me, but it also has to be meaningful to the people. Work is about an output. I'm putting something out. So it has to be meaningful to me, but it also has to be needed and meaningful or valuable to the people that I'm going to give it to. You know, you hear about value all the time, value add. So in the career space, now when you're looking at a resume, it's all about the upper part of that resume is no longer about objective. I want a company that can do this and can do that, and you know, I want to increase my education and all that. The employers, I hate to tell you all, this is a Good Friday, this is a Wear Your Blue Friday, this is a Aloha Friday, but this is the truth. Nobody cares what you want when they're looking at your resume. Anybody here know that? They don't care what you want. They want to know what value you bring to the company. What can you bring to the company? So that's where you have to look at what the world needs. How can I shift what it is I bring so that the perspective of what I'm offering is valuable to the people that I'm going to give it to? So it's a value add. That we call it a positioning statement or career summary or professional summary, whatever you want to call it. It is a value add. What do you bring to the table? How many years have you been in the industry? Where are you? And what hard and soft skills do you offer or can you offer to who we are as a company? And that's what the first 1/3 of your resume has to say. So you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. Then you're going to tell them. It's just like a well-written paper. You tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And that's when you get to the interview. You tell them what you told them. Because if you don't tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them, you won't get to tell them what you told them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So it's important for that sentence, those multiple sentences, to shape the perspective of the person that's going to read it. That's marketing. That first top of your resume is all about marketing. Because if they don't get past the first 1/3 of that resume, you will never get a call. You will never be seen. So you have to show the world what you need. And this piece right here is the precursor to the next piece. Everything is tied together. But when you're thinking about salary, which is how much are you going to pay me? When you think about salary, we have to realize that it is what it is we do, or the industry we're in, what we do in that industry, the length of experience we have, and our geographic location. And all of those things equal our salary. So you can take any professional in Philadelphia and put them in the boonies somewhere, and I'm not going to name a state or a city or anything because I don't want anybody to get upset. Put them in the boonies, and that $150,000 job that was in Philadelphia now becomes $80,000 because of geographic location, right? So all of those are tied together to determine what somebody's going to pay you. Now, if they're not going to pay you a living wage, then something has to change. What you do, where you do it, and how you do it. One of those things has to change because it's what the market will bear. If you look at BLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov, they will tell you how much your skills are worth. That's just it. And anything beyond that is gravy and somebody really likes you. because you're not going to get, unless you move or you change something. So this side of the equation, any mathematicians in the room, this side of the equation equals this side of the equation. So if I want this side to change, I have to do something drastically to this side. Any questions?
So the question is talking about geographic mobility, because people are talking more and more nowadays, at least around me, and I'm one of the people looking for something like geographic mobility. So with the pandemic, we had the opportunity to work online a lot, and the company had to adjust to that, all companies, all industries. But now geographic mobility, it goes beyond that, because you can go and start working in another state, in another country. How would that work? Because, okay, let's try to keep it simple, in another state, or in another city, because sometimes you can go like once a week. Let's say you're living here in New Jersey and you go to New York once a week, for example. But what if you want to go to another state and you want to go more often to New York, and how do you make it work? Like this, having this mobility to have companies go and pay you and
Pay you what you're worth, right? So Bill and I were talking about that with regard to being virtual. My whole posture about that, and I tell all my clients this, and anybody in the room and anybody watching virtually, working virtually is a privilege. And simply because of I call it the world health crisis, simply because of the world health crisis, it became more common, but it is a privilege. So some companies have decided to give that privilege more freely than other companies. If you're working across state lines, even if you're not working across state lines, I would not start talking about virtual work until I have an offer. Because that's when, and I have an HR gentleman that's shaking his head, right? That's when they have decided they want to take you to the dance. Now, if anybody's ever gone to a dance or prom or even, had a wedding, you don't pick the colors until you decide who's going and you've agreed to that, right? Because the color doesn't matter if I say no. You have no leverage until you have an offer. So walking in and start talking about virtual work before you even have answered the first question is definitely going to put you in the penalty box. So I would definitely not lean toward that until I have an offer in hand. Now, if they ask you, then you can say, you can use those keywords like, I'm flexible, I'm open, I would consider it, I don't know, let me see what the job has to offer before we even discuss that. But if you immediately put virtual on the table, you put yourself at a disadvantage.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then when you do take something that gives you the opportunity for virtual, you have to really be strong enough to know what you're worth in the marketplace. Because if you're in two different areas and the cost of living is here in one and the cost of living is here in this one, you have to be able to bridge that. So you have to be able to negotiate. So there are some words and language that you want to get under your belt to be able to do that well.
Thank
Okay.
you very much. Yes.
You're welcome.
Janice, we do have a question in the chat now.
Oh, I'm ready.
He wanted to find out, you were saying it's what you do, where you do it, and what was the third component?
What you do, where you do it, how you do it, and how long you've been doing it. How long you've been in the industry, what are your particular skill set, your particular job title, and then where it is that the industry that you're in.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. So ultimately, when we're thinking about the Ikegai, there are those times and there are those industries and there are those types of jobs that may not lend itself to everything is happy and butterflies and all of that stuff all the time, like everybody's going to work, like, whistle a happy tune. It may not always be like that. So from a psychological standpoint, there's a model that many of us probably know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and all of those types of things, which talks about levels of satisfaction and how to move from that basic getting my needs met all the way up to I'm altruistic and the world is a great place. There's stuff in the middle, and sometimes in our work life we may not have that great experience every day, but we can still build a work world that makes us happy. And we can still have a happy life in general if we have something called a portfolio career, wherein I might work a full-time job, but then I have like a side gig that really makes me happy, that makes it worth it, because in my full-time job, I'm making that living wage and I'm doing what I need to do, but that side gig might be, working at Color Me Mine because I love to work in paint. I love to work in, ceramics, or it may be, any musicians in the room? Okay, so and musicians oftentimes will have that portfolio career. So, you're like an HR director at day and you're a jazz pianist at night. So you can have that happiness. But our career is our responsibility. And this is what we're going to talk about at the end of the career. It is our responsibility to make ourselves happy, because nobody is going to be out there checking the boxes for us any longer. There are some companies that are in tune, but most companies are not going to be checking the boxes for us so diligently to ensure, are you happy today? Are you happy today? Dave, are you happy today? Every job is not going to do that. So we have to be proactive. We have to be self-advocates in order to ensure that we are finding and living meaningful work. That's the ultimate. And that's where the rubber hits the road, because it is work. The Ikigai is pursuit. Ikigai has become a verb. It is not a noun. It's a verb. It's the active pursuit of finding that sweet spot and being mindful of that. Then when we bring it all together, we have all different aspects of who we are, and there are, the spokes and all of the balances, checks and balances that we can have to bring it all together, because no one part of us is the only part of us, if that makes sense. So when we're thinking about meaningful work, all aspects of who we are, we bring to the job. We bring it all of the time. It's so funny, when I was in IT and I was at my desk doing what I had to do, right? And some other people were at a brown bag lunch getting some training or whatever, learning about balance of life. I'm like, balance of life? What are you talking about? I'm here sitting at my desk while you all are eating lunch, bonbons and coffee, right? So they went to this life balance session, and they came back and they were saying, well, I'm out of balance here and I'm out of balance there. And, and they're going back and forth, and they brought me a handout. And so I did the handout real quick. I wasn't in the session, but I did the handout real quick. And they looked and they said, Janice, you're the most balanced out of all of us. And I said, balance is not both feet planted on the floor and nobody can move me. Balance is this. Okay? You have to be able to hold that and stay on your feet. Balance is never easy to get, but we have to be diligent to not let any of these parts of who we are run amok or not be taken care of at all. Because when we get that, there will be no meaning anywhere. There will be no meaning at home. There will be no meaning at work. There will be no meaning on the highway. There will be no meaning anywhere. So we always have to be at that place of thinking meaningful work means meaningful life. Meaningful work means meaningful life. So we have to bring it all together. And if we're here today, we are now without excuse. I should have put that warning at the door. I'm sorry. I usually do put a warning at the door. Once you come in here, once you're here with me, you get a little more understanding, which means you're without excuse. The onus is now on us to be aware that meaningful work means meaningful life. Now, I'm going to talk about some tips, but I want to ask if there are any questions at this point. Yes.
Can I just tell you the correct Japanese?
Yes, please.
Because I heard Japan.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you leave the people virtually hear you talk?
Ikigai is pronounced ikigai. There's no A syllable.
Okay.
Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Very simple.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
Great
that.
concepts. I agree with 100% of what you said.
Thank you. Ikigai.
Ikigai.
That's interesting you say that because I was at one of my high school's career days and I was sitting at a table with one of my fellow sisters because I went to an all-girls school. For those who are online, Philadelphia High School for Girls is the best for all of you in the room. Philadelphia High School for Girls. And so I was talking about the KGI model and she started speaking in Japanese. Just fluent. And she, and I was like, okay, so I pronounced it wrong.
You kind of created your own acronym.
Yes, I'll work it out. I'll work it out. But Ikigai.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I will get that. But she just started speaking in Japanese, and I was totally lost. And I said, did I say it right or no? But I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So any other questions, statements, comments at this point? Any aha moments?
Nothing else in the chat yet.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it.
Actually, only because my parents are the perfect example. My mother had a career at Disney World, and she loved her job so much that she drove 70 miles each way to work every day for 20 years. And she has such excitement in Ikigai that she won huge awards and recognition from the CEO and the top tier management at Disney World, and she won Employee of the Year. And she drove 140 miles round trip every day for 20 years.
Wow.
And actually, now that my parents are retired, they have huge Ikigai. Today's their 61st wedding anniversary.
Wow. Can we give them a round of applause for that, please? That's amazing.
They're absolutely the happiest couple I've ever met. My dad's American, of German and Swedish descent. My mother's Japanese. But they have such great Ikigai for tennis that they leap out of bed in the mornings. Even through the pandemic, they had just moved to a condo which had one tennis court, but they claim the court every single day. And I've never met a couple that laugh together so much from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. They're laughing and having fun, and their Ikigai is tennis and fitness. They do up to 4 sports a day, and they're 83 and 86.
Right. That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. That's
That age,
absolutely.
they usually shift to pickleball.
Which I think I've been told I'm too tall for pickleball. Is that true?
John Eisner plays pickleball.
Okay, then I'm not too tall.
He's taller than you.
Okay, so we're gonna bring it all together. See how your parents were able to do that?
Every day still, even this morning.
Every day.
Call with them.
And the transition, because when we are fully aware of ourselves, that emotional intelligence about who we are and about what the world is doing, we can always find how to shift when something, because the only thing dependable on planet Earth is change. That's the only thing. And so if we don't learn how to manage the change, we will get caught off guard, like eyes wide shut. We saw it coming and we didn't move. We saw it, but it was like we didn't see it. And so when that change is necessary, the best, I think it may have been Henry Ford who said change, no, I can't remember. It's not Henry Ford, but the quote is, change before you have to. Change before you have to. Because we're going to have to. But the question becomes, is it a proactive change or is it a reactive change? My preference is, let me do it. Let me do it for myself on my own terms versus somebody else telling me, and this is, to the situation. Yes, sir.
Change before you have to.
Yes.
Change before you have to is from Jack Welch.
There you go.
The former CEO of General Electric.
There you go. Change before you have to. Jack Welch.
Courtesy
And
of Google.
thank you. I could look in my book. It's in my book too. So, but with many of us who, and I have been in a situation where I was laid off in one of my transitional, times of my life, and it was interesting because my husband and I were both laid off within 30 days of each other. And my daughter was coming up on age 16, and she had always thought about this wonderful sweet 16 party. And I was thinking, will you have fries with that? Like McDonald's cookies all around, don't hold back. And I will tell you, anybody in here who is in the midst of a career transition, know this, that there is life after layoff. Because that was 16 years ago. And my husband now has been at his then new job now for 15 years. And so there is life after layoff. You just have to understand that the change has happened. Now, how do I retrofit what I want, who I know that I am, into this change so that I can move forward in confidence and maintain my self-esteem? So that's the thing that we have to do, because change is going to happen. And so the question becomes, like a blockbuster, are you going to change with it, or is the change going to happen to you? And, you're done, you're cooked. You didn't jump the gap. And so now you're in the situation. So whatever your situation might be, now is the time to put your feet down on the ground, put them down, settle it, draw a line in the sand, and step over the line. And whatever happened in the past is the past. We cannot control the future. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. So let's just move forward. No more guilt, no more blame, whoever, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's just get to it, okay? So here are some of the tips that I have for meaningful work as we move forward. Define your vision and your goals. If you don't have a vision, anything will do. If you don't have a vision, anything will do. So define your vision. Clearly articulate your vision for your career. Where do you want to be? And I'm of this ilk. No holds barred. No holds barred. One of my favorite speakers of all time, Zig Ziglar, would say, I'm not going to let up, shut up, or give up until I'm caught up. And you all don't even know what I might be next year. I don't even know. I know what my goals are, but I don't even know. That is to say, you can do what you want to do. Now, okay, be reasonable. I may not be able to be, in the WNBA. Not now. But maybe 30, 40 years ago, I could have been, right? I could have been a contender, but right now, let's be reasonable. But there are some things that I can do that I want to do. So what is your vision? And set your goals based on your vision. So if you have this grandiose vision, but everything that you're doing on a daily basis is not substantiating that vision, you're cutting your legs from under you. And every year you say, I haven't met my vision. I haven't fulfilled my vision. That's because your goals are not supporting your vision. So we have to get to that place of making sure that our goals support our vision. Now, I'm not going to reach for my daily brain, which is all the way over there, but it's my little pad where I merge my daily things that are on my calendar with the things that I know I have to do to substantiate my vision, get merged into my schedule. So I schedule my priorities. I don't prioritize my schedule. And then I look at my schedule and I say, of these things, which are really unnecessary. Now I write it down. If somebody could hand me, because I don't want, can I just move from 1 minute or even 30 seconds? I'm going to do that.
Do I need to tell people where you are right now?
Yes, tell them where I am so that I can have an alibi.
Move to the side of the room. She's dancing like a ballerina.
Okay, so I just want to show this gentleman here. I'm gonna ask. What do you see there?
Wow,
wait a
it goes
second.
from 6:20 in the
Wait a
morning.
second, wait a
Wow.
second, wait a second. We're gonna start with the real dead. It starts here.
Oh, lovely. 5 o'clock. Early riser.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, and do you see anything scratched off?
Yes, I see
Okay.
the activity updates, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and so what time is it right now?
11 o'clock.
Okay, and where am I, 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock you are supposed to be
program.
at, you're having a lunch and 9:30 to 11:20 you're in the program.
9:30 to 11:20, I'm here with you all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then do I have anything else down there?
Oh, I have to learn from you all this.
Okay, all right. So I'm sharing that, not to, brag about it, but what I'm sharing this to say, my calendar are those things that are hard and fast. But then the other things that are in the midst of that are the things that move me toward my vision. And so if I will not get to my vision if I do not prioritize the things that are important. And this is like, this is the brain right here. And really when any time during the day when I get a little like helter skelter, some things don't always go the way I like. Or may not fit into the time frame, but then I can look and say, how can I adjust this? What are the most important things? For those who are looking virtually, what are the most important things? And what can be put off till tomorrow so that I can get the most important things done? Right? And I think at 6 o'clock, movie night, okay? Because family is important. Family is important. From 6 o'clock, you all, David, I like you a whole lot, but you can't get me after 6 o'clock because it's movie night. Okay? But see, this is what I'm saying. Define what your vision and your goals are. And then you'll be able to identify opportunities. If you don't know what your goals are, your vision is, you won't set the right goals. And when the opportunity comes, you won't even know it because you will not have seen it. Because Picasso said, I see my paintings twice in my mind before they go on the canvas. So if I don't have it in my mind, it can never be on the canvas, right? So we have to be able to see it so that we can see it. So set those goals, and that's what makes meaningful work. When things are happening in the company and you didn't know they were happening, that's first of all because you weren't checking it out, you weren't looking, you weren't listening. So you always have to be on point with that. So when they start to happen and you start to feel a little bit uneasy, is it the company or is it me? And then you check it to see what needs to be fixed so that you can move forward with confidence because we have to maintain that meaningful work. And it's my responsibility. You're the captain of the ship, right? And in nautical terms, the attitude of the ship, the attitude of the captain, the attitude of the ship is the direction of the ship. What's the attitude of ship? North by northwest. What's your attitude? Is your attitude good one? Is your attitude nobody no trouble I seen? Is your attitude we can do this? Yes, we can. Or the Three Stooges would say all for one and every man for himself. For those who don't know who the Three Stooges are, Google it. Google that for those who are watching virtually. I'm not gonna explain it, but you'll enjoy it and then you're gonna want to watch it on YouTube. Okay, so tip number 1, define your visions and your goals. Number 2, research different industries and careers. Wherever you are right now, there is this ability you will be able to identify what we call transferable skills that can get you from where you are to where you want to be. Sometimes you may have to take a job. Now, I know y'all say a job. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right, Janice? No, a job is a just over the bridge. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients had always wanted to be an attorney, but the financial resources were a problem for him. But he had always wanted to be an attorney. So he was a contractor for the government, and he told me contractor for the government is synonymous to saying if I tell you I got to kill you. So I just told him not to tell me what he really does. But he's a contractor for the government. And we were working on his resume, and he had 2 degrees, one in rhetoric and one in communications, right? Master's in rhetoric, and the other one, master's, was in communications. But he had always wanted to be an attorney. So our plan was to get him hired. This is the JOB, the just over the bridge. Get him hired at a university where he could use his current skill set. And the university that had a law school where he could use his current skill set. Now, it was not my responsibility to get him to pass the LSAT, okay? That was not my role. But get him there. Then he had to pass the LSAT, and he had to get admitted into the school. The school would pay part of his tuition. Makes sense, right? It was his JOB, his just over the bridge. Right now, he's studying for his LSAT because he got the job. So we have to research different industries and different careers, look at where our transferable skills can help us to align to where we have to go based on the vision. Now, when we start researching, our vision, our goals might change. And that's okay. As long as it's a part of our plan, it is okay for your visions and your goals to change, but do it deliberately. Don't let it be by default. Change on purpose. Don't let it be by default. Well, why did you change that? Well, no, you gotta have a solid plan so that if changes happen, you know right where to change and you can keep it moving. So I used to be in, as a part of being in IT, we used to have to run projects. So I used MS Project a lot. And anytime you made one change, you better know everything else in that project plan was going to go flip side. So you had to be very particular, very specific where you changed it so that you knew what the following waterfall of changes would be, and you could be okay with that. Okay, so research, get into these industries, and there is so much information out there that's free. And we are in a library where there's even more information, okay? And some libraries, this is the cat out of the bag for those of us who have LinkedIn, and maybe you have a premium LinkedIn account, or maybe you don't, but you want to use LinkedIn Learning for some of your trainings. LinkedIn has reciprocal agreements with many library systems across the country. So with LinkedIn Learning, if you have a free library card to your county's library, chances are your county or your township has a reciprocal agreement with LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn Learning through the library system. The only difference is you won't get the LinkedIn certificate numbers if you complete some of the certifications. But that's okay. Just upload the certificate and keep it moving. That's a mosquito bite. We're not gonna worry about that, because it's all about you having that out there on your profile and getting that knowledge. But research industries and careers. Another way to research, and then also in your research, you can cross-section careers by using what's called an NAICS code. And that's the category that everybody has to use to file when they get their employer ID number from the federal government. So every business, every registered business that has an employee ID number has an NAIC code that says what category that company is in or that business is in. So if you wanted to cross-section businesses to understand what business might use the skills that I have. I was in this business, but I'm thinking about going to this business. Okay, what companies are registered with that same NAIC code? And if you have B&D Hoovers, even the better, because D&B Hoovers will actually create a list for you of every company with that NAIC code. So you can do an awful lot with that tool alone. And then you have library, then you have, YouTube University. I have like 5 PhDs from YouTube University. Anybody else have at least one PhD from YouTube University? So there's a lot of ways of finding companies and industries where you can use your transferable skill set. Tip number 3, network and seek out mentors. Your network can determine your net worth. Now that may be something we've heard a lot, because I know I've heard it a lot, but it's not a trite saying, it really is true. Because networks can influence resources that money sometimes cannot influence. Let me say that again. Networks can influence resources that sometimes your money cannot influence. Example, my eldest son, who still lives in Philadelphia, a very cold, blistery winter weekend, and somebody smelled gas on the block. And you all know, I don't know if they do this in Princeton, but in Philadelphia and in Jersey and in my township, they will tear up a street for one sniff of gas, because gas is dangerous, right? And so they tore up his block and they found the leaks and they fixed the leaks and they turned the gas back on for half of the street, but the half that he didn't live on. So he comes home to a very cold house and it's the weekend and it's like, oh my God. So he's calling everybody that he could to try to get his gas back on before the weekend ensued. And they said they could come back out, but they wouldn't be able to get back there until that next Thursday. So he's looking forward to a very cold weekend. So he did what? Being resourceful and with his network, he called his mom. I mean, how many people you're going to call your mom? Come on, you're going to call your mom, right? And so he called me and he said, Mom, who do you know? Well, having been in IT and having worked for PGW, I knew the CIO. So I called my friend right there in my phone. I have her home number, her cell phone number, and her work number. I called her, and in less than an hour, his gas was back on. Your network can move resources, to my point, that money might not be able to move. So you have to be very aware and very deliberate about building your network. And then seeking out mentors. Who's doing what it is that you think you might want to do? Have an informational meeting with that person so that you can get an understanding of what it is to be like, what it's like to be in their industry. A day in the life of. Can I shadow you? Can I talk about this? What does it look like when a person's coming in as an intern? Get some advice and get some guidance from that particular person or persons. And where's one of the best places to find your immediate network? Right here. Then you have LinkedIn, and there's so many other places, your school alumni, and you can go from there. Those 3 right there can help you to get to wherever it is you may want to go. Tip number 4, take on internships or apprenticeships, volunteer or temporary roles. This can help you to do something you may want to do without impact to your career. Now, as Dave mentioned in the introduction, I'm a member of Toastmasters International and have been for a long time. And I've had the opportunity to do some amazing things in the leadership role that were career enhancing. Some of which could have taken us down, but career enhancing. Where you get the opportunity to test drive and work with people that you may never have had the opportunity to work with before. And it could never be career limiting because it's all learning experience. So internships, get an apprenticeship, volunteer, or some temporary role. Take a part-time job and learn something. You know, and there are a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs who took part-time jobs in the places which would be their competitors to learn from their competitor. So consider doing this. It'll give you valuable, invaluable experience. Then number 5, one of the biggest of all, this is the biggest of all of the tips, prioritize your career management. You have to be proactive and you have to be a self-advocate regarding your career life and the conditions of the situation you're in. One of my experiences, and I've had some great work experiences, I'm just sharing with you all a couple that can give you a perspective. And one of my experiences, I had applied for a supervisory role. I was already leading 40 people. So I'm supervisory material, right? Y'all think? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And so I applied for the supervisory position and I was denied the position. And he gave me some reasons why, which we will not talk about right now because we are recording. And I would deny them. If you all said them, even if they are recording, I would deny them. And so, so I was denied the position. And at that time, I was a contractor. And I was making an hourly wage. It was an hourly wage, right? I was making an hourly wage. It wasn't bad. Somewhere like about $75 an hour, which was not bad. And after I was denied the supervisory position to lead, an additional 10 people, this same manager came back to me 2 weeks later and said, I want to give you this whole different segment of responsibility for this group that had nothing to do with IT. It was all, management of the resources of the place where we were, because we were a consulting group on site. So we had to manage not only the technical piece, but we had to manage also, the place where we were, administrative assistants and all that. And he wanted to give me that part. And he wanted to add $1 onto my pay. Yeah, right. $1. And you know what I said? I said, great. That's good, John. Thank you. I walked out and I put that name of that company on my resume. And that back then, faxes were king. And I put that resume on that machine, and 2 weeks later, I was out. And he didn't even come to the last day of me being there. He didn't even come to work because I took the proactive stance over my work life and the conditions in which I would work. And that's the responsibility that each and every one of us have. We cannot feel that somebody else has our life in their hands. We have to be proactive. We have to take our power back. And if we can work as partners, you're an IT partner. It has to be a collaborative. It has to be a mutually beneficial. That's like with networking. Networking is a mutually beneficial relationship. And when it becomes predatory, or when it becomes a situation where I feel that I no longer am seen as a partner, but I'm now seen as somebody that can be stepped upon, then I have to do something different. And that's okay. And you don't have to be mean about it. You see, I said, thank you, John. That sounds great. I didn't argue. I didn't debate him. I didn't talk about what he didn't give me 2 weeks ago. I just said, thank you. And I went to my desk and I filled out my resume and I got back to work. But I put that resume on the fax machine before I got back to work. And 2 weeks later, I was gone. And he had to hire not one, but 2 people to take my position because I was what? Technical, and I could communicate. So he had to ultimately hire 2 people. So he ended up paying nearly twice as much as that he would have paid if I had stayed. But that was his responsibility, because my responsibility was to maintain my personal integrity and to be okay with where I was, knowing that I was being valued. It's not about an argument. It's not about a disagreement. You have your perception, I have mine, and I'm out. And he didn't even come to my last day. I was like, oh, did you see me put my hand over that microphone? He didn't come to my last day. Did y'all hear that? He didn't come to my last day. I still remember that.
Ashamed.
Excuse me?
He probably was ashamed.
Well, he
He
did.
was smart enough.
Embarrassed, I would say embarrassed.
Well, you know what? And he obviously did not. See, you know what? Sometimes I cannot fault an employer or a manager in that sometimes they don't even see the value.
Right.
Like they may not even see it because they, you've heard the phrase taken for granted. Like you always did this. I didn't even realize, how important you were. And I'm not touting my importance, but look, he had to hire 2 people. So when we understand our value, that's why when you have a salary.com or bls.gov, when you know your value in the marketplace, then you don't have to succumb to somebody else's perception of what your value is. You tell them what your value is. Now, here it is, Dave, the 7 things when we're talking about taking care of our careers. This is 7 things that we always have to stay on top of, and I'm just going to put these things through real quick. All right. We have to stay on top of these. What we know, our education has to be current, be relevant in the marketplace. Be relevant. Do not be a dinosaur. Be relevant in the marketplace. Have your resume on fleek at all times. You need to have a 21st century resume. If you're looking for a 21st century job, you need a 21st century resume. And I can list some things that would tell me if you had a 21st century resume or not. Okay, there's some things on there that if you have it on there, like references available upon request, and that is not a 21st century resume. Get that off of there. This resume is prime real estate. Get that off of there. That one was for free. Did you put your hand up on that?
Yeah, an AOL account.
An AOL account. You might.
Showing your age.
Yeah, you're showing your age. Well, you know what? Ageism is a whole nother seminar, but this is my thing. With regard to, we have age. How many of us in this room do not have age? It all depends on which side of the age we're on. Some of us are younger, and some of us may not be as young. I didn't point to you, but just juxtapose the opposites of the room. But I have age, and with age comes experience. And so we can't be afraid of the age, but yeah, we better take the AOL.com off of there. Anyway. So marketplace savvy, know what's going on in the marketplace. What is happening? What are the trends? What is the technology that's going on? Not so much what's going on with any particular company, because any given company could have the tale of 2 cities happening at one time. It could be the best of times, it could be the worst of times, all at the same time, because somebody could be expanding and somebody could be contracting. So don't listen to they're not hiring. Go with what the market is saying. The next thing is interviewing. You have to know how to interview using behavioral-based questions, behavioral-based answers, and all the dynamics that come along with what's happening in 2023. The next thing is active search strategy. It's a strategy. You just don't throw your resume out there. You have to know what to do with your resume, where to put it, how to network, how to connect, and all of those different things that are going to make you look good in the marketplace. So actively searching, but with a strategy. Having a good resume by itself is like having a great car without gas or key. You're not getting anywhere. But the strategy is the gas and the key. I hope that I convince you. Strategy. Networking. We already talked about it. Your network can determine your net worth. I referred, especially coming out of high school, I referred several people who, out of high school, got jobs that I referred them to, and 10 years later are managers in those same places. I did tell them, don't mess up. Don't mess up, because you want people to be referable. And if I'm going to refer you, be referable. because I don't want to have to hear, oh, well, so-and-so, they didn't do what you said they could do. So networking, and then negotiations. A lot of people, you've always heard this, leave money on the table. There's a lot of stuff we leave on the table that we don't even know. Know your worth, know what you want, design your future. Dave, how are we on time?
Very good.
Okay, great. So you might be saying, nah, I'm too old in the game. I can't change. It's just not happening for me. I've been in this career for 15, 20, 30 years. It's not happening for me. I'm just going to do what I've always done because I'm just going to get what I always got. All these different excuses, or I'm very new and I can't make this thing happen the way I want. And so I would say, that is simply not true. It's all about mindset. Like taking AOL.com off that resume, right? Take AOL.com off the resume, but once I walk into the room, you already know how old I am. You already know. So whatever it is I bring to the table, I better bring it and bring it strong. And it all starts with our mindset. So when I'm working with clients who are mid or latter career, we're not even looking at age. And I'm going to help you to make the market do what we need it to do. It's got to do what we need to do because we stand there saying, do this. Hire me because I'm this. Not because of my age, whether I have time in the industry or I don't have time. We'll put a whole strategy together that says, hire me. And so it's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too early to get in position for what it is you really want to have. Morgan Freeman. How many people are familiar with Morgan Freeman? Well, he was what they call in his industry a late bloomer, right? He didn't really get his first big role until he was 47 years old. Yeah, right? But he had been in acting and everything since like the early 60s. But he didn't get a really big role until he was 47. He's 85 now. And he has had a phenomenal career. But he didn't really even get going until he was 47 years old. Look at somebody and say, there's hope for me. Right? There's hope for you. There is hope. Colonel Sanders. Now, many of us have eaten some of this chicken. Many of us are still carrying some of the pounds from that chicken, right? And those fries. Okay, I'm here, remembering and reminiscing right now. Those fries. He did not start until he was 65. He died at 90, but he did not start. Kentucky Fried Chicken, now called KFC, because they figure if you don't know that Kentucky Fried Chicken means KFC means Kentucky Fried Chicken, you'll forget about the grease that you're eating. But he didn't start until he was 65.
Yep.
So everybody say, there's hope for me.
That's right.
Somebody say that's right. You're Googling me? Okay. There's hope for us. There's hope for us. Okay? Now, here's a picture of a plant. It's called Selene staphylia. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this plant. But this plant's famous because, you see these test tubes? There were some Siberian scientists in Siberia, and you know what's in Siberia, lots of cold, right? And they found seeds in the ice. They carbon dated these seeds at about 32,000 years old. And scientists are very curious. That's why they're scientists. And so they decided, well, let's see what would happen if we put this 32,000-year-old bunch of seeds into conditions that were conducive for growth. So they took them into the laboratory. And you see S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6. And then you see a plant. This is Selene staphylia. 32,000-year-old frozen seeds. So when I saw this, I knew there was hope for me. If you could be 32,000 years old, frozen, and still bloom, there's hope. So regardless to where you are, what it is, it doesn't matter. Now is the time to draw a line, step over it, and move forward. One of my favorite quotes, George Eliot, it's never too late to become what you might have been. We have to be creative. We have to be proactive. We have to make a determination. This is what I'm going to do. And regardless to what anybody else says, unless they're paying the bills, you don't have to listen to them. And if they're not paying the bills, thank you for your input. I appreciate your concern. And then you, as the individual who's proactive and you're a self-starter, you just keep it moving. Because it's never too late to become what we might have been. Meaningful work. Everybody deserves meaningful work. If we are getting up in the morning, getting ready for work, going to work, being at work, going home from work, and thinking about work after we get home, we deserve meaningful work. Now, this is me. You know where you can contact me. And if you do the QR code, that'll take you right to my website where you can actually schedule a free 30-minute consultation. And I think it will ask you how you heard about me, so just let me know how you heard about me. And remember, if you want the ikigai, she's gone. If you want the ikigai, that also, I gave you that the QR code, but if you need that information, if you were not here, I can get that information to you. With that, that's me. Do you have any questions?
Chance to be a rock star.
I have a question.
Oh.
So,
What was item 3 on the 5 tips?
Item 3 on the 5 tips.
Network.
Yes.
Network. I got to undo all of this. Who is that asking? Network.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
so I have a quick question.
Yes.
How did the sport affect your working life? Like, what did, being, you're an athlete, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I'm sorry.
She remembers
No.
the heart and the paint.
Oh, the heart and the
References,
pain. And when I said I could have been in the NBA, I could have been a
You pushed it
contender.
yourself, so I was,
Yes.
maybe I have that in mind, and so I was wondering. So when you think you push yourself a little harder than you think you can make it, and you can actually make it, how, if you take that in consideration, how do you think that affects in your professional life? Like pushing a little more yourself when you think that, is this too crazy, that I'm dreaming to do something that it's kind of out of the box, for example?
I feel that when we are pursuing something that may seem to be a little eccentric, I'll use that word,
Yes.
even in that pursuit, something phenomenal is going to happen. Even in that pursuit, think about all the amazing things that have been created because somebody made a mistake. You know, like Formula 409. What is that? That means that all the other formulas, 408, didn't work. That's why they have Formula 409, right? You had the Post-it notes, which were a mistake. They were supposed to adhere forever. And they started coming off, and they made them billions of dollars, right? So 3M took a mistake and said, all right, we're going to leverage this. So even in the pursuit of that which may seem to be eccentric, I believe that as long as a person has a genuine heart to do good for themselves, good for their family, and good for the world, I believe that that thing can still work out for your benefit. Thank you. Great question.
Was 408 even close?
Yes.
It's kind of a tough question, I think, but to answer. But can you lose your passion once you find it with time? And if you do, how do you know when it's time to make the change, or see it as a season of lack of interest or frustration? Or
I believe that passions can change. I believe that passions can change, and I've seen it happen. Okay? So if in fact that does happen, then you question yourself. Because we can either tell ourselves the truth or we can lie to ourselves. So if you're going to be truthful with yourself, am I still into this? Am I still into it? Like, do I want to do this every day? And if the answer is no, then better now than later, start to make the shift that you have to make. If in fact it is something that you really still want to do, I believe the passion will revisit, it will return. But start to at least start to plan and think about it, to put a couple of other things in the fire. Okay? Because it's, changing back can happen. It may take some doing. Changing back can happen. You can revisit something. Any other questions? Thank you, Anthony.
There's no other questions in the chat, but a lot of really positive comments. So thank you so much for.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us. Thank you all. We have a question in the back there.
Just what was tip number 1? I apologize, I came in late.
What was tip number 1?
Vision, have a vision and goals. And make sure that your goals align with the vision that you have so that you can see progress. Any other questions? Give yourselves a hand. It's been an amazing day.
Janice, thank you so much. This was so wonderful.
And nice to see you in person.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, good. There was so much in this presentation, and what I really found interesting was you kept to your mantra. Tell them what you're going to say it, and then remind them, because some of the points that you talked about in the beginning came up in your tips. So one was, they don't care what you want, which came up early. And then you talked about hard skills and soft skills. Well, that became important as part of the tip with consider transitioning your career, because you can't use your old skills. You can't easily sell your old skills into a new career. You have to sell new skills or soft skills, because your hard skills may not be relevant for the old career, but they're relevant for the new career that you're going. So really thought that, saw that in your mantra, it really came true. I also liked supporting your goals, the first one. And I quickly looked up to get the exact phrase of this Zig Ziglar quote. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And there's the first tip, the very first thing that she talked about. So if you're not really focused on what it is that you're looking for, you're going to have a hard time achieving some happiness or that passion that Anthony was saying. So terrific tips. This was a combination of common sense and real important stuff. And I think we can all follow these. So thank you very much. You didn't play any sports? Just thinking.
I'm a saxophonist.
Oh, okay. My father-in-law was. Yeah, he played with some famous people too. Oh, so we'll talk later. But anyway, thank you very much. Oh, and then the other person who started a career very late. Does anyone remember Clara Pella? The Wendy's commercial, Where's the Beef? Remember that? She was 80 years old when she got cast for that. So another one. You'll have to get her picture in that slide as well. So another famous person. So some people do find career changes or new careers later in life. So we can find that passion as well. So thank you very much. We did post your contact information in the chat as well. We will be making the chat available later with the link to the video, or you could just download the chat now while you're still online. I want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks, or who's coming up next week. We will be right back here, March 10th. Can't believe it's March 10th already. Jeff Altman, career coach Jeff Altman will be here, and he'll be talking about making yourself desirable to employers. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Jeff will be virtual. And then the following week, Paul Segala will be here, career coach Paul Segala. Project planning work search, a practical work search methodology. So really the step-by-steps that you need to do, just like you would plan any of your work projects, you would run your job search like a project as well. So that's what Paul will be talking about. So we have 2 coaches coming up, career coaches, over the next couple of weeks. Other meetings that'll be coming up in the future weeks as well. Next week, also on Saturday, the Breakfast Club of New Jersey meets virtually, thebreakfastclubnj.com, and it's Ed Hahn. Ed Hahn will be presenting. And so he'll be talking about your job search and you in 2023. Also check out kind of our cousin organizations. PSG of Central New Jersey meets on Monday mornings virtually, psgcnj.biz. And also PSG of Morris County meets on Wednesday mornings, psgmc.org. So you can check them out virtually as well. So once again, thank you so much, Janice, for being a continued supporter of PSG of Mercer County. So glad you're able to come here in person today and meet. She's presented a few times for us, first time in person. And but until we get to see you again real soon, we'll simply say bye, everybody.
Bye.